It's been 2 years since the launch of Fallout 76, and while the game has received numerous updates and expansions, is this game, made by the once beloved studio Bethesda, even worth your time? Let's find out, shall we? Before I go any further, I just want to thank all of you who have watched my videos. This is obviously still a very small channel and has a long way to go. Every like, subscribe, and comment really does a lot to help me grow, and I appreciate the support. If you have any suggestions about what content you want to see on the channel, either leave a comment down below or hit me up on Twitter. And once again, thanks. The gameplay loops between combat, scavenging for parts, and doing things around your camp. Now on paper, this sounds like a fun and interesting formula, especially in a multiplayer setting where you can combine camps, trade, and even go head-to-head with rival players. Unfortunately, all three of these core ideas are executed in a bare-bones state, leaving you unsatisfied every step of the way. The combat, a highlight of Fallout 4. Surely they couldn't screw this up, right? Well, think again, folks. Not only is the combat just plain broken in some areas, the rest of the game, where it does work, feels stiff, unresponsive, and unimaginative. Whether you're fighting the Scorch, Raiders, or Beasts, none of their animations look smooth. Bullets visibly fire at odd angles, and enemies seem to have a hard time doing anything remotely realistic or tactical, making every enemy just a similar, bland bullet sponge that only fights back half the time. These bugs and awful AI make the combats insanely easy. Firing from hard-to-get areas, I took down several enemies that were many levels higher than me, and while I understand there's a certain amount of cheese in games, this exploit certainly didn't do 76 any favors. I think the worst part about the combat, though, is the level locking of weapons. After killing a high-level enemy, they sometimes drop a really cool machine gun, and guess what? Can't use it till you're 20 levels higher. What the actual fuck? What is the game trying to balance here when locking those weapons behind a level wall? PvP? No, and here's why. PvP is a complete joke. All fears of running into another player looking to kill you and take your stuff completely disappears because you're almost completely invulnerable to the other player's attacks until you decide to shoot back. So what did I do to a guy decked out in power armor who attacked me? I did nothing. I went along my business, completing the underwhelming story quest. I understand the developers didn't want new players to get griefed, but this is an insane amount of hand-holding that did not strike the proper balance with me. With most enemies and players not being that scary, where's the challenging combat that isn't a buggy, broken mess? I guess you could spend dozens and dozens of hours grinding to higher levels so you can fight the bigger bads, but you should always be asking this: what fun is the game offering me right now? A good gameplay loop can keep a player engaged for days. Fallout 76's combat just made me want to go play Skyrim a seventh time. Crafting and scavenging for parts is the second big part of the game. The world, to its credit, is littered with all sorts of junk you can break down for useful resources. But while you're out and about, make sure you have enough food and water to keep yourself healthy. At this point, I'm tired of seeing poorly implemented survival mechanics. Hunger and thirst don't add anything relevant to your experience. With the combat already shitty and terrible, what's starving gonna make it? More shitty and terrible? Not to mention, unless you have a guide handy, it can be pretty hard finding certain resources if you don't know where to look, and with a pretty empty, stiff, and static world, traversing it and discovering new things really wasn't that interesting. It's not like I'm gonna get excited about finding a super cool gun that I can't use until level 45. At a certain point, I wondered where all of this was going to lead to. What was the payoff here? The combat is shit. The exploration, while it may be interesting to look for resources on occasion, was still mostly shit, which leads me to the last core of the game, the one that could have made me forgive every other shit part of 76. Building your camp. You can build your camp virtually anywhere on the map and can fast travel to it for free. Off to a good start. With the resources you've collected, you can craft a shelter for yourself and workstations and useful items and cute decorations to make your place your own. It feels very personal and where you'd want to spend a lot of time at, and it does legitimately feel gratifying building something that's solely yours. Where does this camp inevitably fall apart though? I'm so glad you asked. It's basically got the same problem Fallout 4 had with its settlements. It's finicky as hell, and trying to customize it to your liking can be quite the nightmare. Also, if you want that special level of customization, you're gonna have to spend countless hours looking for the plans to build furniture and structures you want to. Or you could buy them, of course. It's not like I already bought the collector's edition or anything. What's spending $100 or so extra dollars on vending machines and fancy 50s wallpaper? Building my camp was probably the most fun I had in the game. Unfortunately, when I'm interrupted by bugs, finicky controls, and server disconnections, that fun quickly diminishes. Did I also mention how many times I got stuck? Easily the best part of the game are the perk cards and level up system. You choose one from the 7 stats to upgrade each level, and that determines what perk card you can equip. It's simple, elegant, and reinforces the rest of the game's mechanics. It's really what makes your character feel unique and talented in their own special way. Unfortunately though, with the rest of the game not up to par, there really wasn't that much to get invested in. The amount of bugs and invasive ads trying to get me to spend money really just nailed the hammer into this rotting coffin. You can get Fallout First membership for the amazing low price of $100 a year. What a steal! You get a monthly bonus and access to private worlds so you and your friends can suffer together. And don't even try to argue that playing with friends makes the game better. Playing with friends always makes a game more enjoyable, even a shit game. But $100 a year or $13 a month? This game isn't even worth $13. The original narrative, told through robots and holotapes, was as stale as a sandwich you've left out for hours. Bethesda really shot themselves in the foot for not having any living NPCs to drive any amount of meaningful plot forward. They do rectify this later with the free Wastelanders expansion, but the NPCs they added were just as cookie-cutter stale as the rest of the story. Instead of getting Deathclaw Santa or the Lone Protectron, we get generic unnamed settlers. What's really sad too is that all the lore is there, and some of the stories about the monsters could have been quite interesting. There are locations all over the map that tell a story, and would have been far more immersive if the world itself didn't feel flat, dead, and frankly a bit fake. The Fallout writing and charm really doesn't work here because I'm already not having fun playing the game. The art direction has been falling out lately with its blatant lack of graphical updates. Characters and environments look like they belong on the PS3. When compared to literally any other game out there, this game's art falls short, and it falls hard. Even the artsy Fallout charm doesn't seem to be as present in 76 as it is in older games. It looks like many other vibrant open worlds, except with bad textures and sun rays that seem to go through the ground. The game reuses a lot of assets from Fallout 4 and reskins many of them in different colors, which of course is fine. I think, like many of its predecessors, the art quirks and blatant copy-paste assets would be easily forgiven if the game offered a complete, clean, and working package. It also stings me more when I really see terrible monetization practices regarding the cosmetics that actually look good and colorful and fun. It's like we paid full price for all the shitty art we've seen already, and the company is now expecting us to pay more for better skins and artsy assets they made post-launch. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. One thing Bethesda does well is the music. I have zero complaints about the music. The ambient soundtracks and radio make it less of a drag from going point A to point B, and the main theme is a catchy variant to the game's original. The sound effects are definitely a mixed bag. While a lot of it might sound familiar, internet lag makes them mostly disjointed or delayed. Another thing that annoyed me was when the newly added NPCs would talk over the holotapes I was listening to. It was distracting and had a very unpolished feel to it. Overall, this is one of the worst games I've ever played. While all of its parts could have made a decent formula and gameplay loop, Fallout 76 finds itself dead on arrival. It really should still be in beta, and there shouldn't be such a focus on monetization when most of the game's core mechanics are still broken. 76 is 2 years old, and it's done nothing to fix any of its problems. It's just put in more garbage to cover up the original garbage. Getting a 2. out of 10. Want a better shooter RPG? Go play Fallout 4, Borderlands 3, or The Outer Worlds. All better games, by a long shot, and don't have a monthly subscription attached to them. Hope you enjoyed the review, and if you've played Fallout 76, tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you're not already a member. This is Game Ghost signing off. Happy gaming, folks.